What is up? Welcome to Pistons Talk Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great night. In today's episode, what we'll be discussing: Malik Beasley update, which NBA teams are currently talking with him. We'll be putting some tweets on the screen and reading them and just giving my overall thoughts and opinions on the matter. But before we do get into that, I want to just update you guys just with the podcast this week. Usually we have them on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. We'll be actually having it Friday. We'll be recording with Koo from Locked On Pistons. Really excited about that. First time that he will be on Pistons Talk Podcast. I'll be going on his podcast, I believe, on Thursday tomorrow. I think we're still kind of ironing out the details, but I'll be on Locked On Pistons tomorrow at 7, and he'll be on our podcast Friday at 7. So, should be fun. Have a fun episode for you guys. But what you guys are here for, Malik Beasley update and which NBA teams are currently talking to him. So, do apologize if you guys can hear the motorcycles behind me. I swear, ever since they got the road paved behind me, it's like a racetrack. But we have a tweet from Full Court Press citing Michael Scotto from Hoopsite saying that the Pistons, Timberwolves, Cavaliers, and Knicks have recently touched base with Malik Beasley for Michael Scotto. Now, if you're looking at all of these four teams, the Detroit Pistons have the most money that could offer. Now, those are the four teams that have initially made contact with him. And the three teams, outside of the Pistons, all they have is veteran minimums to offer. These are all teams that are considered contenders. Minnesota has made it to the Western Conference Finals in consecutive years. The New York Knicks made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, eventually did lose to the Indiana Pacers this playoffs. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, one of the Eastern Conference powerhouses, has also reached out to Malik. But all those teams can only offer veteran minimum contracts. Detroit, on the other hand, can offer up to $7.2 million to be exact for a one-year deal with Malik. So those are the four teams that we know as of right now, as we're recording this podcast on August 27th. So four teams, all playoff teams, all considered, top-seeded playoff teams in the respective conference. Now, last week we kind of discussed which teams could offer more than the $7.2 million that the Pistons can use with their non-bird rights on Malik Beasley. And I'm just going to go over these teams again because I keep seeing a lot of you guys asking me, like, what are the teams that can offer more than the Pistons? And Keith Smith does a really good job of covering the NBA. If you guys haven't followed him, definitely do. So Brooklyn, they have the most cap space out of anybody. They have $15 million to be exact. They could use their cap space. Now, you got Charlotte, Chicago, and Washington. They all have $14.1 million of non-taxpayer mid-level exceptions. Indiana has 13.5 of the non-taxpayer mid-level. Miami and Sacramento have 7.3 of the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, and OKC has $8.5 million of the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. So those are the teams, if you're a Detroit Piston fan, to keep an eye on. Now, none of those teams have actually reached out so far. None of those teams have made contact with Malik Beasley. That has been reported so far. It's, again, the only teams that have been in contact with Beasley are the Pistons, the Timberwolves, Cavs, and Knicks. Outside of that, none of those teams that have more cap space to use than the Detroit Pistons have actually talked to him, which is a good sign if you're a Piston fan wanting to know if Beasley could possibly come back. I do want to kind of get into this tweet because it came from Front Office Sports. NBA Central is citing them. And it is an update on Malik Beasley's situation. And it says this: Malik Beasley is still under investigation in the gambling probe and could still face charges, per Front Office Sports. Malik Beasley isn't fully cleared from the federal gambling investigation, though he's no longer considered a, quote, target in the Eastern District of New York probe, remains a subject, meaning his conduct is still under review and charges are possible, something his lawyers have acknowledged. Now, I think the key word here to really focus on is he's no longer considered a target, but he still remains a subject. Now, I think a lot of people, when they saw the Shams Charania tweet last week, thought that Malik was a free man and, he's going to sign with an NBA team. He's still under investigation. He's considered a subject, not a target, which I think is just, they're just using their words carefully because they don't want to get sued themselves. But I think it is a very good sign that this is the first time this offseason that we're hearing NBA teams have been in contact with him about possibly signing him to a new NBA contract for the 25-26 season. Now, I do want to end this short episode of the podcast with the question that a lot of you guys have been asking me. And it's, will Malik Beasley resign with the Pistons? Now, the Pistons have one roster spot available. I laid out how much they could offer. It's $7.2 million for a one-year deal. Will the Pistons try to bring him back? I think the way they pivoted this offseason during the summer and free agency was a good plan B. You give the mid-level to Karis LeVert. You trade for Duncan Robinson in a very team-friendly deal. You drafted Chaz Lanier, which I don't really know if he's ready or not. I think preseason will kind of give me a better indication whether or not he's ready for NBA minutes. But I still think there's a chance the Pistons could re-sign Beasley, bring him back. And here's the reason why. It's a long NBA season, 82 games, goes by really fast. There could be injuries this season. Knock on wood. I'm hoping everyone has a healthy season. But it's a long NBA season. I think adding a player of Malik Beasley's status wouldn't hurt the Detroit Pistons. If anything, bringing a three-point shooting specialist like himself on this team makes your bench, I think, more dangerous. The guy hit 300 threes last year. He was second in the NBA in total made threes. First player in NBA history to make 300 threes off the bench. When Jaden Ivey went down, he was a number 2 option. There are some games that he won for the Detroit Pistons just with his three-point shooting. I would be opposed to the Pistons bringing him back. I think it's a good indication that they've been in contact with him. They obviously see the value in him. They're familiar with him as just a veteran last year and the three-point marksman that he is. I think the investigation thing is still looming. We're just going to have to be patient and see what kind of does happen with that. But I think as a Piston fan and just trying to be as rational as possible, you guys, I honestly think that, if there's a chance that you can bring him back, you do it.